if you're in a room where you're the least experienced one, you're in the right room. That's exactly where you're supposed to be, so you can learn and absorb from other people. We don't realize that the more time we spend with other people, the more there's this fusion of the minds, is what I like to call it. There starts to be a fusion of beliefs, of how you perceive the world, because you start having this conversation and they start to permeate your beliefs.
Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising, the podcast that's all about celebrating and empowering the incredible hardworking mothers out there. I'm your host, Mary Dibble. I'm on a mission to equip you with the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to conquer the challenges of motherhood and life, all while embracing your radiant self. Join us each week for amazing guest interviews, relatable stories, and a whole lot of fun. We're here to create a vibrant, supportive community where we can be our authentic selves, where no one feels alone, and where we uplift and cheer each other on along this incredible journey of motherhood. So, fellow Radiant Moms, get ready to rise, shine, and conquer the world. Let's grow together, laugh together, and make every week a celebration of the powerful, radiant moms we are. This is Radiant Mom Rising, and you're part of a community where your brilliance shines through. Are you ready to rise with us? Let's get started. Welcome to a transformative journey where we break free from the ordinary and dive deep into the art of reinvention. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, and in this episode, we unravel the secrets to escaping life's autopilot mode. Get ready to challenge the status quo, redefine success, and unleash your inner power. Joining us is the insightful Waleska, author of Stop Living on Autopilot, who will guide us through a captivating exploration of self-discovery, personal growth, and the path to authentic success. Buckle up for an inspiring conversation that will propel you towards a life of purpose and fulfillment. Hope you enjoy.
Thanks for tuning in to the Radiant Mom Rising podcast. Today, I have Miss Waleska with me. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I'm just so excited to get going with you.
It's such a pleasure, Mary. I mean, you from just talking to you and getting to know you a little bit. I mean, I think that you are definitely bringing a lot of what us women need to hear, especially moms, and I think you're doing a great job. So I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you so much. That means a lot because it is my passion to really get out there and share our stories and inspire women, especially hardworking moms and just hardworking women in general. Like, we deserve to live the life that we want. It's possible. And any way that we can support each other and help each other along that journey, especially in the beginning stages, because that's a very challenging time. You know, it's one thing to make that decision, but to actually take those steps, like that's where I want to support people right now in, because I've been there. I get it. So yeah. I would love for the audience to know a little bit about your journey with where you were in your job that led you into doing. She's a writer. She's published her book, and I'll let her tell you all about that. So.
Certainly. So as I was mentioning a little earlier, I mean, I started in the hospitality industry about 15 years ago, and I just started working super hard because my dream was to, the dream that's out there that everybody tells you that once you're successful, I mean, you're successful once you're able to work for corporate America. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I worked really hard in the company that I used to work for, which was, one of the fanciest hotels in the world. Moved me to the States. And so I was doing that for quite some time. And I was managing a portfolio of 15, at some point, 23 hotels, all luxury hotels, pretty much what you would call living the dream. If you look at my Instagram, you'll see all these pictures, all these photos in these fancy hotels, wining and dining customers. And at one point, I remember I was on a plane and I was just looking back at, how far I had come and how I felt about it. And really asking myself, okay, well, if I have all these things that, people tell you that this is what success is all about, why don't I feel fulfilled? I'm married. I have this great career. I get to travel around the world. What's happening? And what I noticed is that there wasn't anything particularly wrong with selling fancy vacations and fancy hotels. It's just that it wasn't connected to any purpose for me. And that's when I started writing, when I realized that my life was on autopilot. And so I was, like I said, 40,000 feet up in the air, just started writing as a little bit of a blog, you can say, and then it turned into a book. And one of the things that I love about this book called On Autopilot Your Life is that so many women, hardworking women, are out there climbing the ladder, but at some point we have to step back and ask ourselves if the ladder is actually leaning against the right wall.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
So,
that is something, because you're right. We're just taught so much in this world that this is the way to be in order to have that successful, happy life. But we're learning more and more each day that isn't fulfilling. That isn't the way. They want you to believe that because it helps put money in their pockets. But at the end of the day, we're not really showing up to our purpose, our authentic selves, and what really is meaningful and makes that real difference and impact that a lot of us want to do.
100%. And one of the things that I learned working for luxury companies is that they always say that luxury is personalized, that you don't offer the client a cookie cutter. You don't offer them a cookie cutter products or a service that you find out what's important to them. And then you offer that which is important to them. And I think success works in the same way. Success is personalized. And also what we need to understand, because a lot of times we feel guilty, is that success, can also change with, the years. For example, I loved traveling around the world in my 20s and I thought it was great and I thought it was amazing and I was feeling very fulfilled. But as soon as I hit 35, I'm like, okay, I want to be home with my husband. I want to publish my book. I want to start making a difference in somebody else's life. So it's okay to change your mind. And I think a lot of times we feel guilty because we're like, oh my goodness, I'm doing this for my kids, or I'm doing that, for work, or I've been working with this company for 20 years. What am I going to do? Now I want something different. Don't feel bad about it. Success is whatever you want it to be in that particular stage of your life. If your priorities no longer align with what you're doing, it's okay. It's okay. You can build yourself. I have one of my favorite chapters in the book is called Reinventing Yourself. And I learned this from a client of mine. I met her in Mexico, in Riviera Maya. We were attending a travel industry event. And I asked her to stay with me at a hotel that I used to sell there for the next 3 days after that event was over. And she said, absolutely. I want to see the hotel. I want to sell it and whatnot for her clients, right? And so I had dinner with her one of the nights that we were there. It was one of these tasting menus, these dinners that last like 3 hours. And so I was able to pick her brain a lot. And what she said to me is, I found out that she had multiple businesses that were successful. She was a captain of a boat that she rebuilt with her husband. She is a great chef. She has a bunch of specialties. She used to own a security camera company that she used to install these cameras in celebrities' homes. I mean, she's just been successful at so many things in her life. And so I just asked her, I'm like, how can you have all these facets of your life, all these phases, and still be successful at each one of them? Because mind you, she was one of the top producers for our brands.
Wow.
And that's huge. And so how can you, I thought you were in the same industry for your entire life. And she said to me, I have learned to reinvent myself every 5 years. I'm going to let that sink in. And I still get goosebumps to this day because she said to me, I reinvent myself every 5 years. Whether I pick up a new hobby, whether I change industries, whether I decide to just, better my craft, she had all these amazing things going on in her life and she was in her 60s and I'm like, oh my goodness. And so that's when it hit me, like, I don't have to do what I was told. I had to, because we
Yeah.
do that a lot. We pick something in our 20s
Mhm.
and then we're told just stick with it until, you retire, or, stick with your first idea, and it's not true.
Yeah. It's not. And that kind of gives me goosebumps because when I really think about my life, like it's kind of crazy when I think about like every time I've changed a job and went to a different career or pathway, it was like at that 5 year mark.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's always been around that 5 year mark. It's like, I'm done. I'm burnt out. I'm ready to, that's
Yeah.
why I'm finally at a point in my life where I'm like, I want to do for myself because, and even with my own business, I can definitely see it expanding and growing and going all these
Mhm.
different areas because there's always such beautiful value that we can bring to the table within your own businesses or even in multiple businesses because you learn. It's all about learning and growing and adding value. And that's what it's actually a fun journey when you look at it like that, because it isn't the
100%.
same old, like you say, autopilot. So I'd love to know for you to share a little bit more about your book and what it's about and things like that. And of course, share the links with me for people to find it. And I'll make
Sure.
sure it's in the show notes too, because it sounds like an amazing book that people definitely need to get.
Yeah. No, and this, before I move to tell you about, more about the book, I don't want to let this idea escape me. And that is that this doesn't only apply to our careers or our businesses. We can reinvent ourselves as women too. It doesn't mean that if you've struggled with your weight, for example, which is, it happened to me as well. If you struggle with your weight for this long, you can reinvent yourself and say, I want to find out what the healthy version of me looks like. I want to find out what, the strong version of me looks like. Like you need to be curious of all the things that are within you that you have yet to tap into,
Oh,
so
I love that.
anyway.
No, you're absolutely right. There's so many different, because there's different seasons, there's all sorts of things that we're going to experience and come around with. So I think that's wonderful. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So, the book in general, it's like I said, it's called On Autopilot Your Life. And it's because many of us feel that we're on autopilot, that we're in this and stuck in this cycle, just doing the same thing over and over again every single day. Every day looks the same, right? We're tired. We're exhausted. We know that we have to get to the end of the month and we're just doing the same thing over and over. So the problem is not realizing that we're on autopilot. Most of us have realized that at some point in our lives, even if it's in specific areas of our lives. So that's not the problem. The problem is a lot of us start asking ourselves, okay, what do I do? How do I get out of this? And get that not only motivation, but that strategy to get out. Because I can motivate the heck out of you and say, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. And that's awesome. That's what a lot of people out there are doing, but there has to be a strategy in place and it has to be clear and it has to be, organized for it to work. So I'm just going to touch point on some of the chapters that I have. One of the things that I think is very, very important is that we face the cost of being on autopilot. So I talk about an example of a friend of mine who came to visit me, and she had lost her job. And she told me that because her husband worked and they had a little baby, she would just leave the baby at daycare and then spend most of her day after she's done cleaning and cooking, which took her for 2 hours because she lived in an apartment. She would sit in front of the TV for easily 6, 7, up to 8 hours. And she would say, and then my husband would come home, we would have dinner, and I had nothing to do the next day. So he would go to bed and I would be in front of the TV. And I would do this on the weekend too. And I would be, I was surprised, but I think she knew that it wasn't ideal, but she wasn't aware of how much it was costing her. So what I did is I pulled out my calculator and I said, okay, let's figure out how much this habit of yours is costing you. And so I said, okay, how much is 7 hours per day times 7 days a week? That's 49 hours every week. Okay, so let's see how much that is in a year. So if it's 49 hours every week times 52 weeks every year, that's 2,548 hours every year. That's an equivalent of 106 days. So roughly a third of the year, she was sitting in front of the TV. So what about 10 years? Because here's something that's very important. I always say we need to start planning in decades. And I'm going to, go a bit deeper into that in a moment. But I said, okay, what about in a decade? And so I calculated it. In 2,548 hours per year times 10 years was 25,480 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So she said to me, I know at some point I want to have my own business. And I said, okay, so if you were to spend 25,480 hours on your own business, if you were to invest that amount of hours in your own business, do you think you'd be able to retire in the next 10 years and really, get your business going and hopefully spend more time with your son? And so she was in shock. So I think that it is very, very important for us to calculate the cost. And that is my second chapter, actually. So it's one of the first things that I ask my readers to do. Let's take out a calculator and let's start asking ourselves, what is it costing me to, not be in the best shape of my life, in the best health? What is it costing me to have petty fights in my marriage? What is it costing me to not, put myself first? What is it costing me to do this? So once you do that, you come face to face with the reality that you cannot deny. And that's going to be your first trigger to say, hey, this is as serious as it sounds. I need to do something about this.
Yeah. When you're open-minded to get to that point where you really are real with yourself and realize, okay, because at the end of the day, you're right. It doesn't matter how much we encourage you, motivate you, support you, and even give you all the tools and strategies there. Mm-hmm. You are the one who has to implement it. You have to take the action towards it. We can't make your business for you. We can't bring the success for you. You have to be the one to do that. And that's such a mind-blowing example of just how much time we actually sometimes even waste that we could be, applying to something that would benefit us towards any goals, whether it's towards a career or losing weight or just doing something for yourself. That's mind-boggling, actually, when you really think about those numbers and what you could be doing to better your life, better yourself with that time.
Yeah. And then also something else that we need to understand is that we are the ones that need to make that decision for us. As women, we tend to put other people first. It's just in our nurturing nature. But when we start saying, okay, I want to be the pilot of my life. I want to be in charge. Or we say quotes that we see online like, oh, I'm the CEO of my life. Well, that all sounds great. And it's true, but we just need to go a bit deeper into what this really means. And so when I talk, okay, you want to be the pilot of your life. You want to do this. This simply means it's not the bumper sticker, the girl boss, the mug. It's about saying, all right, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for every outcome in my life. And that means that anything that is happening in my life, I'm either contributing to it or allowing it. And so how am I going to either take myself out of the equation if I don't like what's happening, or how am I going to take responsibility for this? At some point, we need to realize that the buck stops with us. If you're an adult, I have a part of the book where it says, if you're an adult, if you're over 18, it's your responsibility to make sure that your life doesn't suck.
Yes.
And we can continue to blame, the parents, the spouse, the dog, the upbringing, the neighbor, the parent-in-law, and we can do all of that. But at some point, what are we getting in return? Yes, you get a little bit of satisfaction saying, all right, well, it's not my fault. I'm able to shift the blame from my plate to another plate. But at the end of the day, what you're shifting is not only the blame, you're also shifting your power to change that situation. When we put blame on somebody else, with that blame goes our power to make a decision and say, I'm very sorry, but it is my responsibility to make sure that I'm not part of this toxic environment. So I'm out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah, absolutely.
once we make a decision that, hey, this means the responsibility is 100% mine, I'm not going to let you make that decision for me. And that's what being the pilot of your life really means. So it's going to be, I like saying, we're not talking about fault. We're talking about responsibility. With responsibility also comes power. With fault, you're going to feel bad. We're not finding fault. We're saying, we're taking responsibility. We're taking ownership, and we're saying, hey, I have a way of affecting every single area of my life, whether positively or negatively, and I'm going to take care of this.
That's great. What you're talking about is that victim mentality of it's everyone else's fault. And that comes with excuses. That provides like a ton of excuses that you fall behind. And I grew up in it and almost fell into that myself for a long time of blaming like my dad not being there and my mom being single. And you're right. You lose so much of your power. You lose your way. You lose your identity.
100%.
You lose so much of yourself with that. And it's very powerful when you start realizing, no, this is my life. I don't have to let anyone or anything else dictate who I am or what I choose to do. But at the end of the day, I've got to take action. I've got to take this control back, and I've got to do what I need to do for myself and for my family. And that's where things start happening right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, another thing that we need to think of, I mentioned it a little earlier, is putting our oxygen mask on first. Because when you're on a plane, for those who have had the opportunity of traveling by plane, one of the things that always got me was, when the flight attendant would say, well, in the case we lose pressure, oxygen masks are going to fall in front of you, da, da, da. What you want to do is put your oxygen mask on first and then, help somebody else. And that always just left me thinking, because I guess the way that I would see it is, okay, but if I have a child next to me, or if I have an elder person next to me, my reaction, I think, would be to take care of them first because they're the most vulnerable. But really what this is teaching us is that you can't help anybody else breathe, get their oxygen if you're gasping for air, or if you pass out because you don't have any, oxygen yourself. And that's exactly how it is in life. And we forget that we cannot help somebody else if we're struggling ourselves, whether it's financially. I come from a Hispanic culture where we are made responsible financially for a lot of our relatives. If you're the one that made it, if you're the one that, has the great job, the business running, whatever, you start getting phone calls, of, hey, so-and-so needs financial help. What are you going to do about it? And so, you feel this guilt because you're like, oh my goodness. But we need to learn that we need to establish boundaries and learn without feeling guilty to put our oxygen masks on first. And a practical way of doing this, I learned it from a coach that I had. She said to me, what are you doing to fill your cup daily? Because it's not until your cup overflows that you're able to fill somebody else's cup. And I said, I honestly, nothing. I wake up and I start taking care of my husband. I start taking care of the house. Then, I grab something to eat really quick if I do. And then I sit in front of the computer and that's it. That's where my day goes. And so she taught me this very valuable practice. And she said, learn to fill your cup first. Wake up a little earlier if you have to. Do something you like, journal, go out, go for a walk, pray, do things that are going to fill you first so that then you don't feel resentful when you're giving all of this, when all of this is being requested from you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, that was one of the best advice I got. And I started my own morning ritual. And I remember it was tough at first. It was challenging because I was not a morning person. And at first I was like, I had to kind of really mentally, but talk myself into it. But then the next thing I knew, oh my God, I loved it. I'd get up and do yoga in the morning and it was amazing. And then I would do my affirmations and my journaling and just, I was so uplifted that like I was ready to just take on my day. And then my body got used to it, just like with anything else. And honestly, the yoga was life changing for me because I was actually experiencing some hip issues at the time. Right. I had to get a steroid shot in that because,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really bad. Like every time I would sit, because I sit a lot with my job as in an office. So that was starting to affect me already. And it's like every time I would sit for a long period and then go to walk, it's like my hip would hurt really bad and I'd have back pains. And so it was like, I didn't even realize it. It was like, I started off small too. I always believe in like, for those of you who struggle with the idea of like, I don't have time to work out for 30, 40 minutes a day. I get it because I was there too. And 10 minutes. Who doesn't have 10 minutes to spare to just do a quick yoga, quick little exercise? And then you can always expand it as you get more and more in that routine. So I highly do recommend that. That was a great transformation for me in getting myself. And like I said, the yoga was phenomenal with my body and getting myself stretched out and what I needed.
Attention, hardworking moms. Are you ready to kickstart your journey to a thriving online business? Introducing Learn and Earn Profits Online Max, a groundbreaking digital resale course that's revolutionizing success. Learn how to create your own funnel and sell this exact course, pocketing a whopping 100% of the profits. Yes, you heard that right, 100% yours. Lipo Max is an enhanced platform packed with incredible modules and valuable insights designed to elevate your online business game. Don't miss this chance to join a supportive community where hard work meets exceptional opportunities. Say goodbye to the hassle of creating courses from scratch. Lipo Max does the heavy lifting for you, empowering you to learn and earn in an environment tailored for your success. Act fast and secure your spot in this game-changing program and set yourself up for a prosperous life. Join the Lipo Max community today. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more or contact me today with any questions.
I'm telling you, stretches make a difference after 30.
I know. I mean, my husband makes jokes all the time. Like, we're too young to feel this old, but it's like goodness, like it's, and I mean, I'm 3 kids in too. I have a 2, a 4, and a 15-year-old. So my body has been through some stuff, but
exactly.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, it does. And that's another reason why I am being more mindful of it is because the older you get, the harder it is. And I don't
100%.
want to turn around. Yeah. I see my mom suffering with carpal tunnel arthritis and diabetes and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like I am so getting close to that point. If I don't start now making the changes necessary, then I'm going to be suffering like that in just a couple, 10, 20 years from now. I don't want to live a life like that. So, it's very important to take these things like seriously because life is going to keep happening whether you want it to or not. So what side do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the struggling, poverty, sickness side of things? Or do you want to be in a place where you love your life, you feel good each day and you show up as who you are and you love what you do? Like, I know I want to be on that side and I want to help as many people as I can to get on that side because it's a wonderful side to be on.
Exactly. No, it's very true. And I love what you're doing. And I think we need to also expand a little on this. And it's not just your morning ritual. I mean, it's doing something you love during the week. But I mean, I can easily work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I mean, I would just take breaks to eat and whatnot, an active break here and there, go out, and then I'll just sit back. I have no problem doing that. But I feel so guilty if I take 1 hour out of the week to do something that I like or to do nothing. Because I was raised in a way, and this has been a struggle for me throughout the years, and my husband has helped me with this a lot because he grew up in a fun household, right? And I grew up in a household where if my mom saw me lounging, she was like, okay, did you do all your chores? Did you finish this? Did you finish that? Why are you, get to do something? And I understand where she was coming from because, my father passed away when I was 6. So she became, the sole provider, and she was such a hardworking woman. And with that, she just thought that you should be working and being productive every single day. So I looked for ways to be productive, even when I was done with my work, and in a sense. And so we need to just release that and say, it's okay. If I'm able to invest all of this time in others, if I'm able to invest all of this time in in other people, in my job, you name it, with my kids, then I'm also able to invest this time in myself, in my own spirituality and my own hobbies. If I feel like doing nothing, going to a park and sitting on a bench and just looking at people passing by, then that's what I'm going to do with my hour. But this is my hour a week, Set yourself as if you're busy. Tell everybody, I'm sorry. Take care of your own dinner on Friday because that's my hour. And so we need to be very firm with taking care of ourselves too.
Yeah, I can talk about that in my self-care thing because it's like you need to make me time. Like there's so important to and talk to your spouse, to family, let them know, look, this is my me time. And whatever that is for you, do it, whether it's reading a book, whether it's sitting down and watching one of your favorite TV shows. Cause that's for me. Like I used to feel so guilty like you, where it's like I'd be working so hard and hard and hard. And then at the end of my day, I want to just sit down and just watch a show. And I felt like, oh, but I could be cleaning this or I could be doing this. I could be spending time with my kids or doing that.
Goodness,
And, and it's like, I'm tired of feeling that way because I need that to, like you say, replenish, refill my cup. So that then I can show up and play with my kids or show up and do the cleaning and feel good about it and not feel so resentful and like, oh, why am I? I mean, yeah, because I'm the same way. I grew up in, my mom was, always about cleaning and she was a single mom. She was great. And don't get me wrong, she gave us a lot of our freedom, but I didn't really understand self-love and self-care. And so I was just easily influenced and manipulated a lot. But growing up, I've learned so much about the importance of self-care. And even if that's like go in and treat yourself, get your nails done if that's what you need, go take a time and go take a bath or, and I think that's important too, is what works for you? What do you need? That's so important in anyone's personal development. For sure.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, you couldn't have said it better. I think that so many of us feel that way, instead of just taking some guilt-free me time, we just feel like, oh, but I could be doing this. I could be doing that. I could be cleaning. I could be, and the dishes are going to be there tomorrow. The socks are going to be there tomorrow. The job work is never ending. It is literally never ending. The more you can say, I cleaned my inbox today, but tomorrow you're going to have emails. So at the end of the day, we just need to zero excuses. I'm putting myself first for this amount of time every day, every week, every month, and so on.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about mental ropes, which is also something that I love about the book. And I don't know if you've ever heard a story about this man, and I'm going to have to read a little, that was passing by some elephants. And then he stopped because he was confused that the elephants were being held by only a small rope tied to their front leg. There were no chains, no cages. It seemed obvious that the elephants could break free from their bonds, but for some reason, they made no attempt to escape. So he was curious and he approached the trainer nearby and asked him why the elephants just stood there not trying to escape. And then the trainer explains that when they were little and much smaller, they used the same size of rope to tie them. And so at that age, it was enough to hold them. But as they grow up, they are conditioned to believe that they cannot break away. In other words, these ropes only holds them because they think it can. And I hope you're getting this, because where I'm going with this is that our mind is incredibly powerful. And sometimes we're walking around with these mental ropes, false beliefs that are holding us. They're holding us back just because we think they can. So one of the questions that I ask readers is, what is your rope? What is that thing that you think can hold you back and you haven't made an attempt to escape? Is it that, oh, nobody in my family has finished college? Oh, well, nobody in my family has been a business owner. Oh, I was told when I was little that I wouldn't amount to anything. I don't think I'm capable because I was told by a teacher that I would never be able to become XYZ. And we're walking around with these mental robes that have absolutely they're not connected to reality at all. They have no substance. They're just little ropes that are keeping us from making progress. And we need to stop and sit back and think, okay, what am I allowing to hold me back? Because in my mind, I'm giving it this power. Does that make sense?
Yes. So much.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite topics in the book, because these negative beliefs are, one of the many reasons that we don't get out of autopilot. Because, okay, I've been an accountant for 20 years. I could never be anything else. Oh, I'm nothing but a stay-home mom. I could never be anything else. Oh, I've always been overweight. I could never be skinny. Oh, I've always had financial problems, financial struggles. I could never live, free of debt, or you name it. They're not true.
Exactly. And you know what it is too? It's like people don't realize, like, your brain looks for the evidence of what you believe. So if you
100%.
choose to believe that negativity, then it's going to look to prove you right. So imagine what your life would be like if you chose to believe the opposite, the good, the positive, that, you know what? I am worthy of my dreams and goals. I am capable of having the life that I want. I can be financially free. Yeah, maybe I didn't go to college, but there is plenty of evidence out there of so many people who never would have, some people who never even been to high school, who are completely successful, millionaires,
Yes.
billionaires. So
Yep.
that's something I feel like that helps to subside that rope situation right there, is that look for the evidence that will prove that wrong, and then start believing it so that your brain will start to work to attract the evidence that you're right on that, instead of right on the wrong things, because that's just how it works. I see it more and more each and every day that I've worked and made ever since I made the decision to change that and to shift it. It really is true, and it's beautiful. So I think that's just a fantastic story.
We need to expand into that a little, I think. And I'm going to say this. Yes, we're going to recognize what our negative beliefs are and what our mental ropes are. But here's what we're going to do. We're also going to take action in the opposite direction of that. Because we can say, I believe in affirmations. I do. That's one of the things that I recommend in the book. Because, like I said, I grew up with a mom who was very, very strong. And so she made me believe that I could do anything. My husband grew up in a comfortable home where every time that he was about to get out of his comfort zone, he was questioned. Oh my God, what if you fail? Oh my God, what if this? What if that? And so when we got married, we were completely different in that regard. And I would tell him, stop apologizing for wanting more. Don't feel bad for wanting more. Don't feel bad for, wanting to experience what's out there in whatever area, right? So yes, it's very important that we recognize that and that we purposely direct our beliefs in the right direction. But more than that, more than saying, I'm capable, I can do this, which is fantastic. And there's a lot of that out there. We need to start taking action in that direction. So if I say, well, oh my gosh, my family has always struggled financially, I don't know, then I'm going to start taking action, and I'm going to start looking for resources where I can be educated on this. How can I learn to better manage my finances? How can I get close to people who can become mentors to me financially? How can I learn more about this? What books can I read about this? Because it's not just, oh, I can do this, I'm going to be different. Okay, but how? Tell me exactly what you're going to do tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. That's going to set you in the right direction.
Yeah. And then that's what people too, what you have to realize, there's so many people out here that can guide you, that want to support you. We want to see you succeed. And that's why we offer the services that we do. That's why we come out here and have these podcasts and these stuff, because we want you to see the possibilities, because it's endless. But at the end of the day, like you say, we have to make the steps. We have to take action towards it if we actually want to see the difference that we're looking for. The results that you want is there, but you have to be willing to do and show up in the way you need to for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, one of the things that I mentioned as well, and I'm such a big believer of this, is you need to get yourself around the right people. You can't be the smartest in the room. You can't feel insecure around people who know more than you. If you're in a room where you're the least experienced one, you're in the right room. That's exactly where you're supposed to be, so you can learn and absorb from other people. We don't realize that the more time we spend with other people, the more there's this fusion of the minds, is what I like to call it. There starts to be a fusion of beliefs, of how you perceive the world, because you start having this conversation and they start to permeate your beliefs. And so it's very important that we're intentional about this. And yesterday, my husband and I went to a group of our church, and I told my husband, I said, we need to start putting ourselves in environments where we're going to meet the right people. We want to meet people that share our beliefs. We want to meet people that we can have these conversations with. And we've moved a couple of times in the past few years. And so, you start getting lazy. I mean, we're like, well, we want to meet new people, but then we also want to be on the couch because we're exhausted from the week, right? So this is very important. We need to be intentional about this. We need to be intentional about meeting people that are, where we want to be, or at least on their way there.
Honestly, this is why I love doing what I do right now, because I have never in my life been so connected with such beautiful women who are just inspiring to me, who I get to learn from, who we just make such wonderful connections with. It's like, I may not always be in a place, having kids at home where I could go out physically, but there's so much access even now on the internet, just building a community, groups, and finding other like-minded people who will take the time with you, even if it's virtual. But also, if you have a chance, absolutely get out there, meet people, go to community gatherings and network and find people, and you will attract them too. That's one thing I've noticed. The more and more I put myself out there, and I've just been showing up with the intention of that I'm going to make this happen for myself. I'm going to meet these amazing people. It's happening. I'm meeting you, beautiful ladies, and I love it. I love it. It's amazing. It's blown my mind, and I can't wait to see where it takes me and takes everybody. But yeah, I hope you and your husband will definitely get more into that for sure, because it is important.
Yeah, no, we started, and yesterday, my husband, he said, we did great. You took 3 phone numbers home. We know 3 new people. And I started laughing. I said, you're so right. And it was funny because the people that we talked to, they were saying, oh my gosh, we've been thinking the same thing. You become an adult and you start prioritizing your kids, your job, your this, and you kind of neglect your relationships. And, this lady was telling me, she was like, I just want to be in sweatpants and come over and just talk. And I'm like, that's exactly, what we need.
Yeah, I love that. It is. It's so important. I mean, for me, I think as a mom, it was very lonely, especially when I had them as newborns and stuff, like where my friends stopped hanging out with me. They didn't come over like they said they would, because they had their own stuff going on. When you have kids, too young kids, nobody invites you anymore to go out and do stuff. So it was very lonely for a lot of that period. And that's one of the things I want to bring with this too, is to help those who might feel that way not be so alone. Come join my group. Come hang out with us. Come talk with us. Come, don't feel like you have to be alone, because that can be a very dark place, a very sad place to be. And I certainly don't want that. And I can't wait to get to point 2 where I can get back out there and start meeting people, because there's something about that woman connection that, you just can't get always from your husband. And it shouldn't be always on them either, even though they're great. Like, my husband's my best friend too, and I love my time with him. I think there's such a special connection that we women bring to the table, especially when you're supportive and sweet and genuine in it, for sure.
Yes. And one thing that I want to say when it comes to relationships, and once you start establishing your goals, because there's going to be every chapter has like a little why don't you, which is a little exercise. They're very, very easy, very, very short, but it's to allow this to set in, to really set in your spirit and stay there. And so once you start going through the book and you start recognizing these things and deciding, okay, this is what I'm going to do, these are the changes I'm going to bring about, and you start establishing your goals, there's one warning that I issue in the book, which is beware of the crab mentality. And I don't know if you've heard that story about the crabs that were in a bucket. Have you ever heard that? Okay, so I'll tell you about that. So this is actually based on a study. So researchers placed a group of crabs in a bucket, right? And so what they observed is that whenever one crab attempted to climb out and escape, the rest of the group would pull it back down until the crab gave up. And this pattern repeated with every single crab that tried to climb out of the bucket. In other words, what the crabs were indicating is that if I can't get out, neither can you. So I am issuing you a warning. Once you decide that you're going to change your life, that you're going to reinvent yourself, that you're going to sit in your pilot seat, that you're going to make things happen, the crab mentality people will show up in your life. Okay? So be aware. This is not to say that, there are evil people out there, that your friends are evil, that your family is evil, or whatever. This can literally be in the form of well-intentioned people that are projecting their fears onto you, saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going to start a business in this economy. But they're saying that, there's going to be a financial crisis. What do you mean you're going to quit your job? What do you mean you want to, do this instead of that? What do you mean? Be very careful. And so they start injecting these fears in you. They don't belong to you. It's their fears. Oh, but, I started a business back in 2008 and it failed and blah, 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 because everybody can only speak from their own experience. But whatever happens to another person doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen to you. You're a completely different person. You have your own journey and nobody is going to walk in your shoes but you. So you need to make sure that whatever decision you're making is okay for you and for your loved ones. And whatever outside opinion that tries to come in, you have to be very, very careful about that. And that's why I always say protect your incubation process. Don't just go out and start saying, oh, for multiple reasons. I'll explain in a moment. Don't just go out and say, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start my business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. For multiple reasons. Number one, because I just mentioned, some people may project their fears, their worries, whatever, their doubts. But also, in case you didn't know, if you find people that say, oh, this is great, this is amazing, go for it, I always knew you could do it, da, 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 da. All this positive feedback actually tricks your mind. It tricks your brain into believing that you already accomplished something because you're getting this positive feedback and you're getting this emotion of, oh, I'm doing something great. I did it. And so your brain is like, all right, you did it. That's great. You don't need to do anything else. And it will actually keep you from doing what it is that you're supposed to do. So whenever you have your plans, your goals, whenever you've established that, make sure that you keep that process cocoon until you can no longer hide it, until your business is on its feet, until you've written that book and you're about to publish, until you've lost those 10 pounds that you wanted to lose, until whatever it is. Be very careful.
Yeah. Waleska, you've brought such beautiful value to this episode and to the audience. And I love it so much because that is such it's so funny. I'm literally just reading about that a couple of weeks ago about the different types of people that can come in and project their fears onto you in different ways that, like you say, are well-intentioned. They're not bad people. They don't mean to, but it's just because they think they're protecting you from their own experience and stuff. And I didn't even think about the opposite end too of those people who pump. It's great to have that positive feedback, but you also just need to stay true to who you are and what you're doing, and be wary too. Because like for me,
you don't want it to sown.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I almost like for me, I didn't tell a lot of people about me pursuing the entrepreneur road because I didn't want to. You're right. I didn't want to jump the gun. I wanted to make sure that I felt good with what I'm doing. I wanted to really learn it. I wanted it to be true to me. And there's a lot. It takes a lot. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of growing I will always have to do. And I'm excited about that because I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep on. I'm going to keep growing. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to make that success happen. So, and I really wish that for everyone. I wish that for you. I think your book sounds incredible. I'm going to have to get me a copy of it. I would want you to share it because I'm sure there's so many out there who needs a copy of it. Yeah. Is this now, when did you publish this?
I published it. It's recently published. It was published in August. So last month.
I want to make sure that people get this for sure. And of course, share your information with me, your social media, so people can follow you too, follow your journey. If they want to come and learn more about you and get connected with you for sure. I cannot thank you enough for everything. I've loved this conversation. You're just such, you're such a sweet soul. I absolutely love this. And I'm so thankful to you for being part of this.
No, thank you for the opportunity. Like you said, I love your belief system of we're here to help each other succeed, and that's exactly what you're doing with this podcast. And we're here for each other. And that's what this book is all about. So I look forward to continuing, to stay in touch with you and with, with the ladies that listen to your podcast and just building together, really.
Exactly. Let's build an empire together, you guys. This is amazing.
Yes.
I mean, it's like we have so much power. We have so much potential, and we're here for you to support you and make sure that you get going in the right direction for yourself. So leave us a review, come follow us, come find out how you can work with us. There's many things that we can do for you for sure. Join my group, the Radiant Mom Tribe, to stay connected with me. I do my best to keep everybody posted and updated about what to come on this podcast. So this is such an exciting journey. And I'm just so thankful to have met you and get to know everybody like I have. I'm just so excited to see where we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. It's been such a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I hope you got as inspired by Waleska as I did. Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. What society labels as success may not align with your personal fulfillment. It's essential to question if your pursuits resonate with your authentic self and purpose. Embrace reinvention in your career, personal life, and health. Change is natural, and it's okay to evolve and adjust your goals and desires as you grow. Evaluate the true cost of being on autopilot. Use tangible measures to understand the time and energy spent on habits that don't align with your goals. Embrace the mindset of being the pilot of your life. Recognize that every outcome is a result of your actions or inaction. Take charge of your choices. Just like the oxygen mask on an airplane, prioritize your well-being to better support others. Intentionally seek connections with like-minded individuals who uplift and inspire you. Being around those who challenge and support you is crucial for personal growth. Identify and challenge limiting beliefs. Don't let false perceptions hold you back. Actively seek evidence that contradicts these beliefs to reshape your mindset. Move beyond affirmations and take consistent, deliberate actions toward your goals. It's not enough to believe, you must actively pursue change. Prioritize relationships and connections, particularly during times of growth or change. Don't underestimate the power of a supportive community. Remember, your life journey is unique, and success is what you define it to be at different stages of your life. Embrace change, prioritize self-care, and surround yourself with positivity to foster personal growth and fulfillment. Be sure to get your copy of Stop Living on Autopilot today, available on Amazon. Lastly, subscribe to my show and leave me a review. Your feedback is much appreciated. If you want my support on your journey towards creating a life you desire, then visit me at marydibblecoaching.com or contact me on social media to learn more about my offers and programs and how I can help you find the results you are longing for. Let us radiant moms continue to rise and enjoy life to the fullest. Until next time, much love.